Those fires burning across the region have scorched an area bigger than the size of the city of San Francisco. So firefighters really have their hands full. In all, more than 12,000 homes and other structures have been leveled. 11 people are confirmed dead, but we are likely to learn more deaths in the coming days. A new estimate from AccuWeather puts the total cost of this damage at somewhere between $135 and $150 billion. Firefighters starting to get a better sense of just how much destruction the Eaton fire has caused in the Altadena area. It has burned more than 20 square miles and damaged at least 7,000 structures. Fire officials confirmed at least 6 people have died in that fire. One woman spoke about how her cousin and his disabled son were among the victims. The two have been waiting for an ambulance to arrive.
Anthony was such a great guy, businessman, family man. I mean, you can talk to Anthony about just about anything, and he was such a jewel. So this is going to be a great loss. So
what happened to him? He was with his son who was bedridden?
Yes, it's with his son that was bedridden.
Just absolutely heartbreaking there. So we now go live to Katie Nielsen, live in Altadena. And Katie, we understand the California National Guard is now there to help with security.
They are, Ryan. As you can probably imagine, folks here still very much on edge just because you do have situations like these where there is nothing to loot here at these homes. Everything is gone. But just behind it, there is a home still standing. So that is why the California National Guard is here helping with that security. All of the major streets now blocked off either by police or guardsmen. And as we're in these neighborhoods, hearing from some of the people who chose to stay behind, we're hearing stories after story of neighbors helping neighbors.
I emptied that thing out.
Doug Rogers stayed behind Wednesday morning during the worst of the firestorm in Altadena, desperate to save his house.
But I saw embers flying and a little fire starting, and we had no water pressure. I knew I had a spa, so I just carried as many buckets as I could for as long as I could and just kept fighting.
He doesn't have any firefighting experience. He's a nurse. And now all the homes on his block and across the street are gone, except the 4 he protected with his Home Depot buckets.
I mean, there's no way to get any more water out of it. I took everything out I could.
Now, mixed emotions as the reality of what happened sinks in.
Thankfulness. I just can't express how much I feel for these other people.
A few blocks over, David Four and his 2 kids are going around turning off water and gas lines, baffled by the slow response.
We saw a person who worked for the gas company. He walked up to me and said, "Hey, where's house number blah, blah, blah." I'm like, why? He's like, "I need to turn off the gas." I'm like, dude, look around. Flare, 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 flare. The house that you're talking about is way over here.
Small acts of kindness. People helping neighbors, oftentimes they didn't even know.
You definitely see a lot of strength, a lot of resiliency that comes out of the bad. Comes a lot of good.
Paul Lowenthal from the Santa Rosa Fire Department knows this firsthand. Not only was he on the ground in 2017 during the Santa Rosa fires, but he also lost his own home. And now he's here in Altadena, yet another personal connection.
This is a community that I grew up in. I am glad and almost honored to be able to help this community right now.
Now, as you can imagine, for folks whose homes look like this, those small acts of kindness can mean so much at a time like these. And we've seen this time and time again throughout the Northern California wildfires, where everyday people who have no experience in this are stepping up in any way that they can, just trying to figure out a way to help, because as they're walking around, they just feel so helpless. They don't know what to do. And so they're trying to find anything, any way to try to help their neighbors in need.
And Katie, like you had mentioned, you have been on some of the front lines of some of the state's largest wildfires across California. Does that still surprise you, that human spirit where during the biggest devastations, you see the biggest heart and you see people helping people?
I mean, that's what's so amazing about our own humanity, right? I mean, that's what makes us part of a community and a group of people, is the ability to empathize with others. And I think that in these trying times, people understand there's no other choice but to step up and help. Because when you look at a scene like this, there is no way you cannot feel deeply for the people who have lost literally everything.
And I asked you this yesterday, you have boots on the ground, so you have an idea of the wind conditions in the area. What are the conditions like today for firefighters?
Ryan, thankfully, very still. That red flag warning set to expire at 6 o'clock tonight. And right now, there's not even a gust of wind. So I know that earlier today, CAL FIRE had reported containment here on the Eaton fire at 3%. Today, firefighters still putting out those hot spots because they don't want anything to flare up, kick embers up into the air, and then ignite homes that are still standing. And so, you know, I think over the next couple of days, when these winds are going to be calmer, this is going to be a time for firefighters to be able to do some really good work, get in some containment lines that are mostly up in the mountains right now is where the active firefight is happening. And Alex is going to take a look over there. Yesterday, we could barely see the mountains through all of the smoke. Today, it's a little bit calmer, and the smoke that we are seeing is going more straight up. When the smoke is going sideways, that's when you know the wind is carrying it. As it's going straight up, that's telling you that those firefighters are not dealing with the same 60-mile-an-hour gusts like they were yesterday. Yesterday afternoon, all aerial firefighting had to be stopped up on those ridge lines because they were experiencing such strong winds. Today, we've seen water dropping helicopters with snorkels all day doing work up in the mountains. And back here in the flats, that's where the security has really become a concern. We have not seen as many people in these fire zones today. We do know that 20 people have been arrested for looting in the Palisades area and here at the Eaton fire in Altadena. And so that's why they are taking the security of these folks so seriously, because if you can imagine, you find out your home was still standing. And then when you go home, you realize that some of your valuables are gone because someone looted your home while you were evacuated. I mean, absolutely unimaginable. So that's really what they're trying to avoid.
Yeah, just very tough for a lot of people out there. Katie Nielsen reporting live from Altadena, and Paul Hagan will have a better idea of the conditions later on in the show. In the meantime, here's a live look from high above the fires happening right now. Katie showed that ridge line from behind. This is what it looks like from high above. You can see that fire does continue to burn, and that smoke does continue to billow. You can see the helicopter right there doing some water drops onto that fire. We're not sure which fire this is exactly, but there are several wildfires continuing to burn. As you can see, while Katie in her area in Altadena, there's just completely devastation. There are different spots of hot spots and flames still burning all over LA County. Well, the Palisades fire now threatening more communities in LA County. You can see how close the flames are to homes. This is in Topanga. The largest of the wildfires burning right now in Southern California, scorched about 30 square miles and 5 people confirmed dead. The fire is still just 8% contained. Evacuation orders have now been lifted for residents near the Kenneth fire, which has scorched nearly 1,000 acres in the San Fernando Valley. The flames crept dangerously close to homes about 10 miles from the Palisades fire. And a brief scare today in the LA community of Granada Hills. Evacuation orders were issued when the Archer fire broke out, but they have since been lifted. Even when the flames are gone, the danger, though, not over. Pasadena Water and Power now calling the tap water in the evacuation zone unsafe. The water district will have to flush its systems multiple times, and even after that, it may take days or weeks before it is safe for consumption.
The pipes melt, they become open sources. Gases from the fire burning can be pulled into the pipes, and those gases contain lots of toxic chemicals of which none of us want to breathe. They can also contaminate the insides of those pipes.
In the meantime, Governor Newsom has ordered an independent investigation into the water supply problems that left fire hydrants running dry during the fires. The governor announced just a half hour ago that wildfire survivors can now apply for federal aid. People and businesses who've suffered losses can go to disasterassistant.gov, all to apply. The state also set up a new website to support survivors with resources. That's ca.gov/LA fires. It all comes after the governor participated in a virtual briefing today with President Biden, Vice President Kamala Harris, and LA Mayor Karen Bass. The president reiterated the federal government will provide any support that is needed.
What we have been witnessing is truly mass devastation.
So we're going to keep working 24/7 to support state and local officials to fully stop these fires as soon as possible. Next, we're going to make sure California has every possible resource to fight these fires and help survivors.
So let's check in with First Alert Chief Meteorologist Paul Hagan. As we heard from Katie, on boots on the ground there, the winds have died down at least today, but there is a danger they could pick right back up.
And a couple of different bursts of offshore winds. Another one kicking in tomorrow, and then a longer, probably stronger round of offshore winds again by Monday and Tuesday. So let's take a look at the fire weather setup. This is the outlook from the Storm Prediction Center, and the areas shaded on the map here in yellow, that indicates an elevated fire threat. In orange, that is a critical wildfire threat. It's the second of three categories. That orange area kind of shoved a little bit farther down to the south into the hills above San Diego today, while the lighter winds around Los Angeles led to elevated fire threat. Still not zero, and it's not going to be zero anytime soon. Now, the outlook for tomorrow brings that orange area farther back to the north and to the west into the mountainous terrain to the north of Los Angeles. So another day of critical conditions in Southern California. Let's get to the monitor here and talk about the hour-by-hour wind gusts as we head through the next couple of days. At the moment, a relative lull. That's good news for the fire crews, good news for residents, good news for air support of the fire crews. But the winds are going to pick back up beginning in the higher elevations as the sun comes up tomorrow. It'll take most of the day for those gusts to make their way down into some of the lower elevations, but it's going to happen especially by tomorrow evening and into tomorrow night, early Sunday morning, bringing some 60+ mile-an-hour wind gusts. And again, this isn't the strongest event that they're going to be facing over the next couple of days. That's going to kick in late Monday into Tuesday. It's not going to be as strong as what happened Tuesday and Wednesday of this week, but what happened Tuesday and Wednesday of this week was a once-in-a-decade kind of event. Doesn't have to be that bad to be exceptionally dangerous, and there's just zero rain in store. The forecast model's hinting at maybe a sprinkle by late next week, but that's not going to be enough to matter in Southern California.